Government School?
Albany.
Albany, an appropriate place. Okay, just so you want to get your notes out, we're going to talk about question 2, unit 2 today, while we're doing our introductions. And so my name is Lori McNown. I teach political science at the University of Colorado Boulder.
I'm Grant Ulrich. I'm an alum of the Lead People program, so 15 years ago I was sitting at that table. And today I work as an attorney for the city of Chicago doing constitutional and commercial litigation.
Hi everybody, my name is Mike Gooch. I'm a criminal defense lawyer from Omaha, Nebraska, and I'm just tickled to be here. I'm looking forward to it.
That's how they talk in Nebraska.
Well, you didn't talk in that sort of down home, happy, but I happen to actually be happy.
Well, good afternoon, Your Honors. My name is Emily Taylor, and along with my teammates, Thomas Fisher and Jeremy Clement, we're here to address the question in Unit 2 with preparation from our teacher, Mr. Bader.
Good to be here. All right, here is our question for those of you that haven't memorized it, as I'm sure you have. Writing about the Philadelphia Convention, an historian claims that of all the rules adopted, the two most important were the secrecy rule and a rule allowing delegates to reconsider previous issues and change their votes. Do you agree or disagree? Why? And what evidence can you offer to support your response? In what ways, if any, do closed-door, non-transparent negotiations come into conflict with democratic norms, such as accountability and citizens' right to know? And in what ways, if any, do sunshine laws requiring televised or public government meetings encourage public posturing and the hardening of positions rather than just negotiation? Why? What evidence can you offer to support your position?
We disagree. Former White House Press Secretary Bill Moyer claimed that secrecy is the freedom tyrants dream of. The preamble says we the people. A government that operates in secret is not responsible to the American people. Thomas Jefferson opposed the secrecy rule by stating, "I am sorry they began their deliberations by so abominable a precedent as that of silencing their members." Luther Martin from Maryland said, he wished he could correspond with members of his state in order to weigh their concerns. The people became suspicious of the convention. There were even rumors that the son of King George III would be invited to become leader of America. Without an open debate, citizens' trust in the government and the convention eroded. Also, classical republicanism was harmed because the people were not informed about their government. The vote-changing rule enhances civil discourse. Benjamin Franklin wrote that, "New information will change minds that once thought themselves right." For example, in John F. Kennedy's novel, Profiles in Courage, Senator Edmund Ross withheld making a decision on President Johnson's impeachment until all of the information was present, and voted counter to his party against the impeachment. The vote-changing rule was one of the most important rules, but the secrecy rule, along with closed-door negotiations, harms democracy.
Closed-door negotiations often come into conflict with democratic norms. Secrecy in government can allow for abuses of power, even governmental corruption. This can be checked by the power of an independent press, also known as the Fourth Estate, who report on the government and keep the public informed to hold officials accountable. A historic event of the press uncovering government secrecy and corruption at the highest level can be seen in the work of Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein on the Watergate investigation. The reporting on the Watergate break-in spurred a governmental investigation revealing widespread corruption in the Nixon administration, ultimately leading to the president's resignation. Secrecy in government also goes against popular sovereignty, as the three men in a room theory is prevalent in New York City politics. Often, one of the most important negotiations, state budgets, is decided by only a few individuals, such as the executive, the Speaker of the House, and the Senate Majority Leader. Budget negotiations largely shut out the rest of Congress and the public. Also, cloakrooms exhibit secrecy when important legislative decisions are negotiated with only a few committee or party leaders present, rejecting popular sovereignty and classical republicanism. The press has also revealed secrets in publishing the Pentagon Papers. In New York Times v. United States, the press leaked a government study on the Vietnam War that was highly critical of the United States' involvement. Prior restraint was ruled out and the power of the free press was preserved.
The government in the Sunshine Act of 1976 drew from Federalist Paper 49. Government should be accountable for the actions which it supposedly takes on people's behalf. Sunshine laws are a tool for enhancing transparency and for holding government decision makers accountable. Politicians and bureaucrats are unlikely to publicly change their mind on key issues for fear of being called indecisive or unprincipled. In the 2012 presidential debate, President Barack Obama and Mitt Romney spoke to their visions of immigration reform. The president called out Romney for backing self-deportation, a policy that involves passing immigration enforcement laws that would push undocumented immigrants out of the country on their own, a less extreme policy approach that he previously advocated for. The debate allowed the public to practice political efficacy. Democracies require the free flow of information, so citizens may make informed decisions on how the government adequately represents their interests. Thank you, Your Honors. We are now ready to take your questions.
Wow, too many possible questions. I'm having difficulty here. I think I heard two different things, and you can correct me if I just didn't hear what you were saying. Jeremy early on said that information will change minds, right? And then later on, I think Emily said that that sunshine will keep people from changing their minds, right?
Correct.
So is there a conflict there? That in one instance you're saying, so I guess what you're trying to say is that it's always good for people to keep their minds set? Are you disallowing for anybody to evolve on an issue?
Well, what we were saying with the first point is that new information will change minds of people if they gain information that will invalidate their previous position. For example, New Jersey's Governor Chris Christie was originally a pro-life advocate a pro-choice advocate for a very long time in his career. But after hearing his daughter's heartbeat for the first time, he turned to a pro-life advocate, and he holds that stance now as the governor of New Jersey. And what we're saying with the Sunshine Law aspect is that if there is constant pressure on this one person to hold this specific view from their constituents, they're not going to change their mind on any issue because it could make them lose their office.
Don't we have information overload though? Isn't there just too much information out there? I mean, most voters don't even know who their elected officials are or bother to vote. So do we really need more transparency or more information? Don't we know?
Well, also, most eligible voters don't vote. So the information that will be coming forward is going to help the people that are actually voting. Most people can name 3 or 4 positions that their representative will stand on.
And I think the issue with that is the lack of civic education and the wrong type of information coming out. If we had more civic education implemented at a younger age, such as programs like We the People, or more of something called a participation in government class that we have in New York, you would have maybe more of an involved idea instead of just different media aspects. We'd have more issues such as immigration reform or the executive order, so people become more involved in their government.
And going along with the idea of the media presenting things in a bad way, and nowadays there are so many different options between the numerous different news stations and blogs or different websites. The media has gone down a path of narrowcasting, aiming their messages at a very specific audience. And naturally, one is inclined to listen to people with similar views. So this way the media has presented our government has led to a less cohesive.
Wasn't that true in the debates on the Constitution? Weren't there Federalist papers and Anti-Federalist papers? And if you were a supporter, you read the paper you wanted. Is narrowcasting a new problem?
Well, these papers touched upon the entire establishment of government. When we're talking about narrowcasting, if someone doesn't want to learn about constitutional issues, they can simply turn to a news program that focuses on one issue or even a completely unrelated channel like Animal Planet. And they don't need to learn about these issues that are going on in society. But just to touch upon that civic education point again, there is a Supreme Court case, a Court of Appeals case in New York State called the Campaign for Fiscal Equity, which ruled that New York State is not holding up to its constitutional mandate of a sound basic education for all students. And New York State's legislature still hasn't pushed forward on this court ruling. So until...
I think we need to move on.
Okay, sorry.
Well, no, I'll ask a question. I was waiting for him to breathe. Let me ask you this. I take it your position is that the grand jury secrecy rules should be abolished, the petit jury deliberation rule should be abolished, that the secrets that we trust our military to use while engaging in rescue attempts or combat should be abolished, that in fact the government should be open to the public, right?
Any information that doesn't cause direct and immediate harm should be open to the public. So things like you're talking about with troop movements and grand jury secret proceedings, because these are proceedings
I
of
got it.
consumption.
How about the conference of the Supreme Court? Not the arguments, not the opinion, but the conference. Public?
Public, yes.
I think those should be public because political embarrassment should never be a reason behind validating secrecy. The elected
Be a
official.
reason, but who decides? Isn't it, if you're talking about the executive branch, if you're talking about the president, isn't it the president that says, nope, that's executive privilege, or that's top secret, or?
Well, in the case of U.S. versus Nixon, the executive privilege argument was overruled in certain cases, especially when there wasn't a direct and immediate cause of harm to troops or any sort of individual.
No, it really had to do with whether, or not, it was evidence in a criminal trial. It's pretty narrow.
The Supreme Court has also recognized the right of state secrets, which I think is actually a bad thing because this can be asserted and no one is ever allowed to know what exactly happened in the case when they're claiming state secret rights.
In the case of the U.S. versus Reynolds, it was ruled that, well, the United States Air Force used the state secrets to hide negligence on behalf of the Air Force.
Let's talk about flip-flopping, because we've talked a lot about secrets. With flip-flopping, I take it you're not going to allow a person to back off the first words they spoke, because public disclosure means can't change your mind no matter how persuasive the next argument is, right? So you'll sacrifice a decision of integrity to public knowledge, early to public knowledge.
Well, the person can change their mind, they just need to be able to substantiate the fact that they changed their mind well and articulate it well to their constituents.
We're
not
saying
be
this to
disregarded.
politicians, right?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Next.
Thank you. Okay, so sometimes we come out hard and swinging because you gave us a lot to swing at. So I hope you realize that is true. Right off the bat, you said, we disagree, and I kind of was taken aback. And I just want you to know that I just found this so refreshing that you would, sometimes it's like when I'm grading essays, and it's like, I tell my students, it's not a mystery novel. Don't leave it to the very end. And sometimes we're up here trying to, they're saying this, and it's like, what is your position? And it's kind of hard to find it. It was just kind of refreshing to go, oh, now I can relax on trying to find the position and just listen to your reasoning. So I wasn't, I know I kind of reacted. I just want you to know that was actually a positive reaction. I wish we had time to talk about the press and Sunshine, because I got the feeling, and if I had time to talk to you about this, I kind of felt like you were conflating a couple of different issues. That the Sunshine laws, I mean, the press is allowed to publish anything, basically that they can find, and it makes it easier if the stuff is open, but I just wasn't quite sure how you were putting this together.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was really going to be where my next questions were going to lead if we hadn't been cut off by our.
It's Alan's fault.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Our very stern person follows us around and cuts us off a lot. Because I think there are ideas that need to be pulled apart there, and you obviously have all of the starting points of that. So I encourage you to continue to think about all of these things.
Well, I thought your presentation was wonderful, very strong. I liked you're talking about the 3 men in a room, New York notion, although it's not unique to New York, but I really like the local side to it. I like your reference to Watergate and to the Johnson impeachment. We appreciate hearing that this is not a convention or today question, but it's been showing up over 200 years. Very good point. I like the depth of understanding that flip-flopping is an important tool as part of civil discourse, or there's a relationship very important. And to the questions and answers, you should know we don't agree with each other. We appreciate the spirited conversation. Stand your ground, give good reasons, which you did. It was a wonderful, wonderful presentation.
Sometimes you don't even agree with our own stuff.
As a final spot, I wanted to add, I really like your going to civic education. I wanted to thank all the parents and supporters in the room for coming because it's a very important part of the program.
For the top 10, we can talk follow-ups.